Hello. Seeing as I just yesterday covered the Khabarovsk, I figured I might as well make a full commentary on the Udaloi. I did make one while I still had the stock ship, but I fully unlocked it and upgraded it on El Gringo, so I figured I might as well do a proper commentary on the ship. Now, I actually really enjoyed the ship. In fact, I would say the Udaloi might even be more fun for me to play than the Khabarovsk. Now, don't get me wrong, the Khabarovsk is straight up a stronger ship than the Udaloi is. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you literally have one additional gun, 33% more gun power. It's straight up stronger. But the fact that this ship, it kind of handles like the Kiev. It feels like it's smaller, a bit more agile, a bit quicker. And the playstyle reminds me very much of the old pre-nerf Kiev. Except, unlike the new Kiev that has no HP, you actually have a bit of HP to work with. I'm of course running the 3x4 build. I don't have the last HP perk, hence why my HP is only 19k, but still that's plenty enough. Now the first thing you might notice, this game is a bit nasty. There's carriers involved, or well, T9 carrier, and they have a lot of gunboats. Now, first of all, the first thing I'm doing here is kind of breaking one of my rules, which is never go first into the cap on this ship. But this is a bit of an exception because, first of all, there's an island in the middle of B, meaning I can eliminate the spotting disadvantage by using this island to get close to the enemy DD. So we spot each other at the same time, which is of course an advantage when you're playing this kind of ship. Second of all, there's carriers involved, which means once again spotting advantage or disadvantage is eliminated. So these reasons combined is why I push in. Of course there's planes above this guy as well, so I'm more than happily slowing down and smoking up. I expect him to be torping, so I'm always straight away reversing back into the smoke I left behind me. Now, as I said, there are exceptions to the rule of pushing first into caps, and when you have caps like this that offer landmasses, that offer cover, the reason, of course, you don't want to be the first guy into a cap on a Russian DD is because you have such a huge disadvantage in spotting. The enemy DD spot you miles away, they can call target on you, and by the time you actually see and finally spot the enemy DDs, the entire enemy fleet is already aiming their guns at you and firing at you and basically melting you. But in this case, is this Fletcher really not running last stand? Oh Jesus Christ. I can't believe there's still DDs who don't run last stand, like in high tier as well. It just boggles my mind. Kinda don't want to pop out, there's so many ships there. Part of me wants to pop out and finish this Fletcher, but all the NR ships there and all the planes means I would be instantly spotted and I would be shot at by a lot of stuff. So instead I'm just gonna dump my torps that way. The Udaloi, of course, is a bit weird that it has torps on both sides, kinda like the Mayhem, it has the same weird torp setup. But once again, torps are of course a very small part of the ship. It's more about the guns, much like with the Khabarovsk. The torps are kind of like a supporting, helping thing that you might get some nice hits, you might get some bonuses, but you shouldn't be expecting too much. Now, this ship is actually very, very strong. One of the weird things and one of the reasons why I consider it maybe even more fun than the Khabarovsk to play is the fact that it has more range than the Khabarovsk, so you get to play a more relaxed style. Well, none of these Russian DDs are really that relaxed, but you can keep more of a distance, which makes it easier to dodge volleys, and you don't have to be as actively avoiding. Here I'm of course accelerating, trying to get away from this Takao, who can really hurt me if you get some good volleys. Of course, switching to AP since he's giving broadside. I doubt I have to tell you guys just how strong high tier Russian DD AP is at this point. You should know it by now if you've watched any of my commentaries. He angles a bit, and did he repair? I don't know. Nah, now he's giving broadside again, so back to AP it is. For example, Chapayevs, usually all other DDs kind of fear them, but you know, if a Chapayev gives you broadside and tries to shoot you in a Russian DD, you can switch to AP and you can citadel him right back. It's actually kind of funny to watch how they go from eagerly hunting you to suddenly panicking when you're landing like 5 to 10k volleys on their broadside every few seconds. So Chapayevs aren't as scary to this ship as they are to many others. Of course, Moskvas and such and US cruisers are of course still a terror. Now, Unlike many other DDs, of course, when you play Russian DD, movement is key. You don't want to spend too much time sitting in smokes and such. In fact, the only reason I did it was to secure that one cap and, of course, getting some free pot shots in at the Fletcher. No, you constantly keep on the move. You see, he's been trying to hit me, but I'm constantly turning. You might not see it because I'm staying in this gun point view, but I'm using the minimap on the bottom right to navigate so I don't ground into anything, but I'm constantly veering left and right and dodging and so forth, so I'm making myself a hard target to hit. This is in fact the first time I sail somewhat straight because I want to get in the cover, and that's the first time he actually hits me. And that's of course one of the strengths. In fact, it handles even better than the Khabarovsk, or it feels better than the Khabarovsk when it comes to sailing characteristics, which is why I often feel more confident being a bit cockier and a bit more aggressive in the ship than I would in the Khabarovsk. A bit too close here, so I'm gonna pop my smoke up here. Of course, there's a Bismarck, so his secondaries are already opening up on me. So I'm just gonna pop my smoke here and use my second smoke. Of course, I'm still running the Vigilance build, which means you only have 3 smokes. But in this case, I consider it worth it because first of all, this Bismarck is quite isolated. He doesn't have too much cover, and he's also trying to get the cap. So I figured it's a worthwhile trade to either kill him or get significant damage in on him. So it's worth using a smoke here. Trying to get a second fire on him. Of course, when a battleship gives you this much broadside, AP is very, very good. But I'm really hoping to get that second fire on him. If RNG gods would please let me have that second fire. Doesn't look like they really want to give me that second fire. Nope. Really doesn't want me. Now, the Udaloi I've actually had really, like stats wise on the ship, I've had really obscene stats on it. I think it's kind of strange that there's so many complaints about the Fletcher being like this super powered DD, but after having played the Udaloi, I honestly think the Udaloi is a much more terrifying foe at T9 than the Fletcher is, because, well, the sheer amount of damage you do in the ship is just terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. I mean, yes, Fletcher is this knife-fighting DD, but Udaloi is a goddamn nightmare. When it comes to T9 ships, this is probably one of the most satisfying T9 ships. So, like, there's a couple of T9 ships that are really, really a huge upgrade from their T8 perspectives. There's like the Fletcher, it's a huge upgrade from the Benson. There's the Rune, it's a huge upgrade from the Hipper. There are a couple of these, and the Udaloi is definitely one of those. Going from the Tashkent to this thing, it just feels like a dream. It handles great, it feels great. You got great DPM, the torps are pretty decent, and you're just a straight up monster. I mean, I'm up. This is T10 matchmaking, and there's no fears. There's no worries. You can deal with it just fine. In fact, the stock Udaloi isn't even that bad, because the stock Udaloi has 7.5 km concealment, so even though you lack HP and such until you upgrade the hull, you actually gain a bit of concealment until you get the upgrade. Once you get the B hull, aka the upgraded hull, the concealment drops to 8 km. So just overall a fantastic ship. Now smoke runs out, so of course I go back to my mobility type of basically evasion tanking. And of course I'm trying to push these Fletchers. I know there's 2 Fletchers up here. I'm kind of pushing towards them, see if I could catch up to them perhaps. Looks like the Bismarck really does he want me? Kinda. A bit hesitant about shooting me. I have my anti-air on, of course, at all times, well, pretty much all times, because, well, unlike other DDs, you don't really care about being spotted in this one, since your goal is never to stay hidden, it's just to be hard to hit. Constantly spamming HE on this Bismarck. Still hasn't managed to cap that B, of course. Don't want to let him get away with it. Oh, there's the final little Fletcher. I really want to catch this guy. Popping my speed boost. I don't want him to get away. Come on. 0 damage. Hit one of them. Really? There's a nice little Fletcher smoke here that I wouldn't mind borrowing, but whatever. I want to hunt down this guy. It's awkward. I have to slow down so I don't ram right into the Amagi here. I reversed into the smoke, the one that the Fletcher had left behind, because of all the secondary fire coming from the Bismarck, but the Fletcher got away again. which is a bit awkward. The reason I decided to sort of reverse in there is of course that Amage was blocking my speed, and whenever you lose speed in this ship, you suddenly go from this really quick mobile thing to just a sitting target. So you always have to be a bit careful when you do that. Let's see, Turpit's here. Well, we're just gonna straight up use AP. He has 33k and he's giving me full broadside, so at this point I don't even bother starting to work with the HE. I just go straight for the AP. The thing with a lot of the German battleships is that they have a lot of superstructure to hit, and when there's a lot of superstructure to hit, well, that's when these ships really shine, because you can just pump AP DPM into them like mad. We are actually down a couple of ships, but we do have the cap advantage, so I'm not too worried at this point. I actually put my own smoke there, sorry about that. And that's him dead. Another Bismarck, and the Fletcher is still alive, which is an issue. Oh, there he is. Okay, now about time to finish this guy off, like seriously. This guy has been so slippery. Not necessarily even that slippery, it's more the fact that every time I get 0 damage like hits on him, because I think he's so saturated damage wise. Okay, Bismarck, at this close range, giving me this much broadside, I of course just use AP, especially when he's this low HP. But I don't want to get any closer to him because of course, once again, it is a Bismarck, and anyone should know by now that getting close range to Bismarcks is not a good idea. Nice, got an instant fire on him since he's angled. Not worth the AP anymore. He'll either, when he's that low HP, he kind of has to repair the fire, or he's just gonna suffer the damage. And when you're that low HP, well, suffering the damage, well, just gonna get you killed basically. He's not repairing. I don't know if he even can, but he's giving broadside again, so it's back to AP for me. And with this much full broadside, well, that should be a dead Bismarck. Yep, that's a dead Bismarck. That's the same guy I've harassed the entire time he was at B as well, so it's no surprise I ended up getting the Arsonist there. This Fletcher is still alive. Like, I don't believe it. Oh well, just gonna start working on the North Carolina. He's angled, of course, so once again, HE. HE is your weapon of choice. I think he's aiming at the Bismarck. There's a bit of a good synergy here as well, since there's a Bismarck behind me. Getting some fires on him, Bismarck gets some fires, forces repair and so forth. That Bismarck, of course, considered me highly annoying, which is kind of what you want to be in a Russian DD. You want to be that annoying pest, constantly harassing, constantly, your guns blazing at all times, like never really taking a break with your firing. If you find yourself not really doing much, not shooting at much in your Russian DD, then you're probably out of position. Then you're not really playing the ship optimally, because you want at all times, even when you're shooting at someone, if you notice he's about to die, you want to be already moving towards your next target, so as soon as your first target dies, you can already move on to the next one. Of course, the less ships there are left in the map, the harder that becomes, and of course, the more ships there are, the more you have to take care about your survivability when you do such maneuvers. I think this guy, is he reversing? I think he's reversing, that's why I'm aiming so high. That's an unrepairable fire number 1 on him. And of course, Bismarck secondaries might be getting some other fires on him. Wouldn't surprise me. He's made the mistake of getting way too close to a Bismarck, which you of course never should do. The North Carolina kind of shits on a Bismarck as long as he doesn't get that close. He's shooting at me though, I turn in, and that makes it fairly easy to dodge their shells. North Carolina shells are of course very slow, but very accurate, so if you make the mistake of not avoiding when you see him fire, you can suffer some really big hits. But in a Udaloi, you shouldn't have too many issues avoiding the shells. Yeah, he's gonna burn to death. Nothing he can do. Is the carrier going for me, or is he going for the Bismarck? I think, yeah, that looks like he's going for me. Of course, then I present broadside. You never want to give the bombers a chance to drop down the length of your ship. You want them to drop across your ship. Hence, whenever I see bombers coming right at me, I always turn to the side and give them a nice broadside to hit instead. Oh, he only tried to drop me once, then he gave up and he's sending his second bomber somewhere else. Kinda tempted to repair this to make it to B, but I don't think I can make it in time to stop the cap regardless. and I don't know if there's a bomber coming for me. I don't want to risk repair. At this point, yes, you see my speed suffers because my engine is broken, but I have last stand, so it's not like I'm stopping fully. And I don't want to use the repair because first of all, there's a high chance I'm about to be fighting this Fletcher who's capping the objective. Second of all, the carrier just focused me. If he decides to set me on fire or something similar, not having a repair can be a huge detriment. So I'd rather just suffer some inconvenience of having a reduced speed than anything else. And that's the Fletcher. I'm speeding up. I wonder if he can get away. No, I don't think he can get away. He's stuck around too long. And finally, I finish off that one Fletcher. I think, was that the Fletcher I shot right at the start? It's possible it's the same dude. That guy has really been just hanging on to a sliver of health all this time. Amage finishes off our Shimakaze though. And that Turpitz looks like he's about to eat torps. Looks like he's about to eat a lot of torps. Once again, don't care too much about being spotted. Here you of course see the huge difference in range. The fact that I'm almost, well, I can already shoot at this Amage, which is of course something the Khabarovsk cannot do because of this greatly reduced range. And that's kind of one of the reasons the ship feels more versatile. Oh wow, instant fire. Poor guy. But then again, the fire chance, well, then again I haven't really had that high fire chance. Actually, looking at my stats now, I slammed right into the wall in this cap because there's the Fletcher smoke here, which I can utilize to the full duration. It's the quickest way to stop. So I guess that you could actually call that a tactical beaching, but it was more the fact that I was about to be plane spotted and I didn't feel like having my capture interrupted by the Amage if he shot at me. So I just slammed right into the wall where the smoke itself was. He was actually turning in towards me. What was I about to say? I completely forgot. Yeah, about my RNG. I have 450 hits and I only have 12 fires, which considering I've shot a nice... Not all of it is of course HE, but a good chunk of it has been HE, so that damage isn't very... or that RNG isn't very impressive at all. Now of course he repaired my fire and he did go for me as I predicted, but I got 2 fires on him. And that's probably going to be his death, so I don't need to waste any more time on him. I'm just going to move on to hunt the carrier itself. I'll get another chance to shoot at him here. I'm switching to AP of course, since he's giving so much broadside and he already has 2 fires, so he is guaranteed dead. Focus firing the torpedo bombers. There he is. Yeah, he's burning to death, there's nothing he can do. Finished him off with an AP shot. Oh, wait, he sailed past me, he's going for the Bismarck, I guess. And found the Taiho, but looking at the score, we have 990 points, so there's not really much you can do at this point. And there's not much I can do. Would be nice to finish off this Taiho and break 200k damage, and get my Kraken as well, of course, since I don't think I have it today. But you can't get it all, the game ends sadly before I could finish him off. Of course, getting into range of a carrier means instant death to the enemy carrier. And that was the end of the Udaloi game. And nice amount of credits, nice amount of XP was of course the XP bonus thing. You get bonus XP on the first win of the day, so since I got 3.1k base XP, it becomes, thanks to all the bonuses, I use the flag, and of course premium account and such, it becomes that massive 16k chunk, which is very fun of course, or well, satisfying. I guess I'll be unlocking the Khabarovsk on discount soon. Looking at my damage, fires 75k, potential damage 1.3 million, just I've been evasive tanking. Anyway, that was the quick full Udaloi commentary. I hope you guys enjoyed it.